So today is a little bit of a different video than I normally do. Today we're building something as opposed to fixing something. It is tied to fixing something. So I have a couple of Commodore 64 computers on the bench to be worked on, and I have no way of testing them. And if you've seen other videos of people fixing Commodore 64 computers, they all have a test harness and a diagnostic cartridge. But I don't have one. So I found one on eBay. And like I said in a previous video, I had to go to the United States for a little while. So I took advantage of some non-international shipping and I got this kit to build myself for a diagnostic harness. And this was way cheaper than anything that I had access to in terms of getting it shipped directly to my door in Canada. I got it from a seller on eBay called Commodore Hub, and not sponsored. I bought this from them completely. Didn't even tell them I was making a video. Nothing. So let's just check it out and see how it goes. That's today on Tech Guy Life. So the kit comes with 7 pieces. The cartridge, which is this PCB right here that we have to build. So the cartridge is one piece. The second piece, well, the diagnostic cartridge and then dead test. So that's the first 2 pieces. The user port module, which is this one. The cassette port module, which is this one. The what's the next one here? The 2 controller port connectors. So that's the 1 controller port connector, and here's the other controller port, and then the last is the keyboard. The keyboard, and then the last is the serial port tester, which is pre-assembled and ready to go. So part 1 done. Yeah. So they give you a nice printed instruction sheet, full color, not bad. But is it easy to follow? So all the parts come in various baggies and they're all labeled. So it's pretty straightforward. I think most of the parts we need for the cartridge is going to be in this PCB and I believe this bag. I think there's 4 parts that need to go on the cartridge, and that, other than the ROM chips themselves, and that is 2 reset buttons, 2 small capacitors, and I think that's it. So I've got the reset buttons in the board. It's actually pretty good. It's actually a pretty great design, and this is just a standard open source design that you can get from PCBWay. That's all they did was just print them from there. But with these buttons, they have the holes spaced specifically so that you can only put them in one way. So if you've got the buttons turned, 90 degrees the wrong way, they won't fit. So you have to turn them in order to get them in there properly. And that's really nice to see. That's a really nice feature. Next thing we're going to put in is our capacitors here. So these are pretty straightforward. They're super tiny. Capacitors are in. They don't fit flush to the board, so I just kind of pushed them down until it got tight from folding in and then just folded them over. So that'll keep them out of the way. So let's get these few things soldered and then we can deal with the EEPROMs. Oh, I forgot to mention that according to the instructions, these capacitors are can't even speak. These capacitors are polarity insensitive, so it doesn't matter which way you put them in, which is great because that makes it super easy. So I've got all those 4 components soldered in and ready to go. The ROMs came in this cute little 3D printed box, which I thought was great, really great for shipping. So here they are. And even cooler is they already come in sockets. All right, so we've got our dead test side. This is the dead test, and this is the diagnostics. So this is the dead test side here. The most important tool that I have learned since doing this, when you're soldering in components, you need blue tack. And if you don't believe me, don't go to the more fun fixing it or more fun making it channels and tell them otherwise. So bringing in my little board holder for doing this part makes it easier to flip the board over to do the soldering. Okay, so this is the dead test side. So here's the dead test ROM. You can also see the little notch on the chip. They also conveniently put it on the label for you. So there's pretty much no way you can mess this up. So both chips are in. Now we take our blue tack and we use it to hold the chips down when we flip them over. All right, there's our blue tack holding it down. So now we can flip it over. All right, time to solder in all the pins. All right, everything's all soldered in, so it's looking good. So now we can take off the blue tack. And let's give the back a little bit of a clean. So a little isopropyl alcohol, and a toothy brush, and that'll clean off any residual flux that is left from the solder. Okay, so part 2 is complete. So we've got our serial dongle, which came pre-assembled, so didn't have to do any work there. And now our cartridge is all assembled. So next up in the instructions is the user port dongle. Okay, so this is going to go in between here. And I like the suggestion that it has is that you can use this and kind of slide that onto there, and that will give you some support when trying to solder this on, although I can't seem to get it in there. There it goes. Have to squeeze the pins together a bit. And there it is. So in here is our 680 ohm resistor. And back in this bag is our LED. I think I'm going to solder the connector on first. So now we just got to get the LED and the resistor in there. All right, let's get the resistor in first. And last piece, the LED. Now, they conveniently, in the instructions, which is really nice, they explain that the long side of the LED is the positive. So you can see that the LED's legs, one side is longer than the other. And that will go in the positive side, which is labeled right there. Next up, the cassette port dongle. So this one is kind of the same deal as the user port in that we can slide the top part of it into the user port connector in order to stabilize it, which is a really great tip. It works really well. So let's get this part on first. All right, so we got the connector on. Now we need to get those resistors. Now it has 3 different types of resistors. So it has a 330 ohm resistor, which is this one right here. It's the only one in this bag. So that bag of parts is done. It has a 680 ohm resistor, which is another one out of this bag. And since they all kind of look the same, let's start putting them in. And the last one is 150 ohm resistor, which is the only one in this bag. And the cassette port dongle, complete. Keyboard dongle. So we've got this board, this connector, an LED, and a 680 ohm resistor. Going to put the resistor in first and get that in. Now, what I'm going to do for this part of the connector is I'm actually just going to kind of prop up the other side with some blue tack. Okay, last piece, the LED. Positive is marked. All right, the keyboard module complete. The last 2 pieces we have to do are the joystick port testers. They each have an LED, which is right here. Each have one 680 ohm resistor, which is back to this bag here. Each have 220k ohm resistors. So it goes 680, then 120, 120. Okay, now we have to get these ports soldered on. Nice and straightforward. There's one side with, I think it's 5 pins, and one side with 4, so that lines up with the connector. And there it is. Last one's done. All right, so I have my Commodore 64 here on the bench to do testing of the test harness. So first thing we should test is the cartridge. Actually, first, let's turn on my Commodore and make sure it actually works. There we go. I'll boot it up. Looks good. I've actually never run a test on this unit. The only way I know that it works is that I've actually run games on it and everything seems to be functioning okay. I've made some modifications to it. I have the a switch for the Jiffy DOS ROM, so I have a Jiffy DOS ROM in here, but it has the switch to switch it back to the regular Commodore Basic. And I've added some regular RCA outputs to the case because I didn't have the special cable in order to get the S-Video out. So I just added these to the case and I just run straight RCAs to my 1702 monitor. So first thing we'll test is the cartridge. So I'll turn off. We'll put the diagnostic side in first. So that's in, and turn her on. That didn't work. There it goes. Okay, so the cartridge is working. I think I've just got a dirty slot because I don't use the cartridge all that often. Okay, so it's past all of the basic stuff, but all of the stuff that's open. Oh, there goes the sound test. So all the stuff that was listed was bad was all the stuff that you need the test harnesses for. So first thing I'm going to do, the PCB may not be totally clean, so I can give that a nice clean, and I'll do the same thing with it that I do with like Nintendo cartridges and things, and that's use a white eraser to give it a clean. So here's a good old white eraser. Okay, and while I finish cleaning it, I'm going to give the cartridge slot a shot of deoxit. And then give it a little scrub. And it actually took something out. Some paper or something. All right, let's test the cartridge slot again. Perfect this time. Came right up. So there was probably something on the board, because it's a brand new PCB. You got to clean those. Or there actually was something in the slot, so that could have been it too. Okay, cassette port is plugged in. Let's give the cassette port tester a try and see if that comes up as good. Okay, so you can see the cassette port has tested good. All right, next up, let's put the user port. LED light, good. All right, so you can see the user port and the cassette port are good. So we're on a roll here. So let's put our serial port dongle in. All right, so everything is coming up okay except for the control port. Okay, so I've got it open now so I can test the keyboard test harness. So let's see how that goes. But I've still got those controller ports say they're failing, and U18, which says my SID's bad, which is not good. So I went to test the dead test side of the cartridge, and it wouldn't work. And I was like, what did I do wrong? Oh, it's very simple, actually. I didn't solder 2 pins of the chip. So, yeah, let's fix that. There we go. Nice and done. So let's let's test the dead test side. Yep, that was the whole problem, which I totally expected it to be. Well, now I have my own C64 test harness and diagnostic cartridge, and it has shown me that there might actually be a problem with my Commodore 64. But I do have 2 more Commodore 64s on the bench, like in a pile somewhere, that eventually I have to get to. So hopefully one of those will test fine, and the SID will test fine in one of those, and I'll be able to do a chip swap and see if that really is the problem with this Commodore 64 or if there's something else going on. I often see that, Leon More Fun Making It and More Fun Fixing It, he often fixes a lot of Commodore 64s, and it seems to be a thing where you need to have swappable parts on hand in order to properly diagnose what could be wrong with the unit. So, needless to say, looking forward to that. I've got 2 of them, so hopefully between the 3 of them, I could make one good one, or maybe 2, or, might have to do something else for the SID. Get one of those fun new SID alternatives, like a SID Kick or the ARM SID or something like that. Well, that's it for this video. If you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, just hit all the buttons and see what happens. Well, maybe not that dislike button. Don't hit the dislike button. Please don't hit the... Whatever, do what you want. But smash that like button, hit subscribe, tell all your friends and neighbors about this awesome channel that you found. And hopefully we can build up some more subscribers and some more viewership. I'd really love to. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.